further ado, welcome to the day 3 of Zero to Hero Flutter workshop. Today, the agenda is to build a weather app. So, in other words, you will be building your first Android application. All right. So, I guess we'll have a poll right now. Oh, we really want to know if there's someone working on a Mac. So I guess it will be put as a poll in like in a minute or so. So please do react if you're working on a Mac. If else, it's fine. So yes, let's just get on to the session. All right. So before we start with the weather app, I'd like to give a recap of the counter app. Yesterday we've just given you a walkthrough. So today also we'll just give you another recap so that you remember everything for the live coding session. So to do that, let me just go to my VS Code screen. Before I go to my VS Code screen, I'm going to remind you guys again, go to your command prompt. To access your command prompt, click on the Windows key, search for CMD, you'll get the command prompt. All right, so in the command prompt or in your terminal, type Flutter create and the app's name. All right, so that will be put in the chat, I guess. So type in Flutter create some whatever you'd like to call the app. Yesterday we've named the app Z2H. So keep Z2H aside for today and create a new application. So I'll put the instruction again. Flutter create my app. Let's call it my app today. So I've already created a basic app here. So I'm gonna open that app with VS Code. So I'm just gonna type code and the app's name. I've named it dance. So I'm gonna open dance, which is my application here. Right. So for you guys, there's another way. Just open VS Code, go to file, go to open folder, navigate to where you've put the app. So Z2H I've already created. So I've kept it inside D. So go to your path and click on it and then click on select folder. It will open up. All right. So why did I do this? Right. So let me just bring my emulator here. All right. So please do react to the message if you guys have understood. I'll wait for a minute. All right. We have around 7 people reacting to it. I think we have 13 attendees. Guys, if you have any questions, please put your questions in the chat. All right, we have around 9, so I guess we'll start. All right, so just to give you a recap, so when you create something with Flutter, create whatever the name is, you get a very basic app. This very basic app is called as a counter app. All right. Why is it called as a counter app? Because whenever you click on this floating action button, this button is called as floating action button. Whenever you click on it, the number here changes. Let's just see how it works. All right, let's just see how it works. So when I'm clicking on the floating action button, you can see that the number changes, right? So this is a very simple basic app here. Now let's just get on with the structure of the Flutter of this application that we've created here. All right, so when you create a Flutter app, you have a lot of folders here in the right side, in the left side, sorry. So in the left pane, you'll get to see a lot of folders here. Now, the only folder that you have to work on right now is the lib folder. So just keep a reminder, the only folder that you have to work on now is the lib folder. So please do react to the text that I've put. So is the lib folder. All right. So inside the lib folder, there'll be a dart file which is called as main.dart, and main.dart will be already created when you type in Flutter create your app's name, right? So that's already been created by Flutter for you to work on your app. Now inside the main.dart, this is where you put your main code. So after that, if I'd like to create, for example, when I click on this action button, I like to display another page, and that page will show me the time, right? So I can create time.dart and I can put the code for that in this place, right? So then I can easily link this time.dart inside main.dart by importing it. So this is the next big thing. What we do is we do something like import, and then we specify the file's name here. So we don't have to do that here because I'm not going to create a page here. All right. I'm not going to create another, I'm not going to navigate to another page here. So I'm just going to delete the time.dart here. So that's what this means. Import function basically tells you that you're importing something. But what am I importing here? I'm importing material.dart. Why do I need material.dart? Because since this is an Android application, the whole structure is based on Android, right? So Android has material design. So that's why we are importing material.dart. So what you do is import, you specify the package, then you say flutter slash material.dart. If it's a plugin, again, you'll have to do the same. So if you use a new plugin, I think day before yesterday or yesterday, we've taught you guys about a plugin called as device info, wherein which if you use device info, you will get to see the information about the mobile device or the tablet or whatever uh, application, whatever device that you're using, right? So that's what the package does. So to do that, again, you have to use the import function, import keyword, and then call the package. All right. Then you have to call the package inside it. All right. So please do make sure that it's in single quotes. All right. So yeah, that's how that works. All right. So that's what this thing means. This line means. Now we get to the next part. So every new application will have a void main, just like C++, all right, or C. It will have a void main. Inside void main, we have something called as a run app. Now, I hope you guys remember something that I've taught yesterday. I'm gonna say, uh, I'm gonna say state, and I'm gonna give it this thing. I'm gonna put it as a UI. I'm gonna comment this, right? All right. Comment this. Right. So, okay. So this can directly be translated to this. I'll tell you why. Now, the state of here, what it means is you're putting the state inside a function and the resultant is the UI, right? So let's just translate this into this code, line of code. The state of the app is the my app function or the my app widget or the my app class. So it's basically a class. So the state of the function is my app. Here you're putting it inside the function and you're getting a return value from it, which is basically the user interface. Right. So basically this is the user interface. The resultant of this line of code is the user interface. Now let's just go to the next part. Now my app is basically a predefined function in Dart. So whenever you're creating a new application, you have to use the word my app because that's the predefined function here. Now, class my app extends a stateless widget. So here we are using a stateless widget. So if you guys remember what a stateless widget does, a stateless widget basically says that everything inside my class is immutable, right? So you can't change the values of things inside or widgets inside a stateless widget. That's what we're trying to do. So what you're trying to do is my app class is going to extend the stateless widget here. So that means whatever I'm mentioning inside this my class widget or my class, my app class, sorry, I can't change its state. So what I'm going to put is I don't want to change the state of the title, that is Flutter demo. I don't want to change that. I don't want to change the theme basically, which is the blue color over here. I don't want to change that. And yeah, that's what I really don't want to change those things here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it inside the stateless widget here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a widget build called, and I'm going to give it parameters called as build context, and it will have a, okay, please do vote. we have a poll here. So I'm going to give it a parameter or an argument called as build context. So what that line of code basically does is it lets you render or build your UI. So my app class has a widget build context. It basically lets you render or build your UI. So whenever you're using something called a set state that I've taught you guys yesterday for a stateful widget, this is who's responsible to recreate. For example, when I'm clicking on this part is getting re-rendered, right? So this is what the build context basically does. And then what I'm going to do is this class, I'm going to return the material app. So what I'm going to do is my app is the basic structure. Let's think of it as a skeleton. Then I'm going to put in put in muscles to the basic skeletal body. So I'm going to put in a material app to get the material so that I can use material widgets or widgets under the material app. And one of those things is the title, and then is one of the other widget that I can use inside the material app is the theme, and the other one is the home. So what homepage does is homepage lets you define the body of the application. Okay, let's see what I'm going to do inside this. So inside home, I'm going to say my homepage. So it's another predefined class here. So I'm going to create my homepage and I'm going to give the title as Flutter demo homepage. So whenever I change anything over here, it directly says I've changed the UI because the coder wanted to. All right. So like that, it will change over there. So this is a very huge sentence. It's going out of this thing. So let's just keep it at this. All right. So whenever you code something, click on Control S. All right. So whenever I change something, I have to click on Control S because that's when the whole UI re-renders or the app reloads. It's called as hot restart and hot reload. So I can basically change the name here. So I'm just going to keep it back to Flutter demo because it's a demo for you. Now, what I'm going to do is my homepage is another class, right? So inside my homepage, I want the UI to render. But if I put all the things like this, the button, this text and everything inside the stateless widget, it won't re-render. All right, it won't re-render. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that my homepage class is a stateful widget. This basically the whole body is a stateful widget. All right. Now, after doing that, I'm going to pass to optional parameters. It's called as an optional parameter. I'm going to say key has a key, and I'm going to say title inside my homepage constructor. So it's basically a constructor. So inside my homepage constructor, I'm going to say a key and a title. Now, what does the key do? It's a very good question. A lot of people don't know what the key does. The key lets the main my app know that my homepage is a widget. So that's what the key does. So every widget has a certain key, and for those widgets that are complicated, we use the key. Since my homepage widget is complicated, we use something called as a key to understand that my app should have another widget called as my homepage. All right, so that's basically what key means. You really don't have to go in depth about what a key means. Then I put in another parameter or an argument which basically says title, right? Then I'm going to define what a title is. So what does final string title mean? Final string title basically means that the variable title can't be changed. The variable title can't be changed. All right. That's what final string title means. So it's just like saying that variable called as title cannot be changed throughout the runtime of the app. That's it. All right. Now, and this is basically the Flutter demo part. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, since I've created a stateful widget, I can't directly put all those widgets inside this stateful widget. So whenever you need certain widgets to re-render, what I have to do is I have to create another class. Let's call it my homepage state here. All right, that's how the Flutter team has coded. They've called my homepage state. Then what you have to do is my homepage state will be a a stateful widget under my home page. All right, it's pretty easy for you guys to understand. When you create a stateful widget, create another class inside it, which basically helps in re-rendering the UI or the widgets, and all the widgets and the UI and everything that you would like to change, you put it inside this third class. So you have basically three classes here: my app, my homepage, and my homepage state. So this basically, this line of code says that my homepage state is going to be one of those widgets under my homepage that gets re-rendered. That's what basically means. All right. So then what you do is you define my homepage state, and then you extend and say that, oh, I'd like to take the state of a stateful widget, and my homepage state is extending a stateful widget, right? So that means now I can put whatever I want inside my homepage state, and those widgets will re-render. Inside this, I'm going to create a function. It's basically a very simple function, void increment counter. I've taught you guys what a set state is. Basically, whatever you put inside a set state can be changed inside a stateful widget. So inside the set state, I'm going to say, I'm going to create a variable. I'm going to create a variable here, and I'm going to say counter plus plus. All right. So I'm going to say I'm going to increment whenever I click on the button. Now, where does this thing happen? Again, inside my homepage state, I create another with build context. Again, because I have to re-render, right? Whatever I have inside inside the homepage state, I have to re-render again. So I have to build the widget again. So in this, I return a scaffold. I've taught you guys what a scaffold is. Scaffold itself has many other widgets. One of them is the app bar, title, center, column, etc. Body, child, and everything. So what you do is you create an app bar. Then you say widget.title. You pass in that. Then you say, then you just give out the layout. You say that at the center and the column is basically very simple. I'm not going in depth because Vinayak's already done that yesterday. Then you define the alignment. All right, there are two types of alignment here. There's something called as a main axis alignment, and there's also a cross axis alignment. Cross axis alignment lets you align it across. Like for example, think it as a vertical and a horizontal way of aligning things. So that's what main axis alignment basically does here. Now you can put in a text inside the children here. So you create a child widget, and you have multiple children. So that's why we have used the keyword children here. And then you put in a text called as you've pushed the button this many times, right? So that this text comes directly inside the application here. Then you call the counter here. Whenever you call the counter here, and then when you display the counter inside the text box, the number comes. It gets rebuilt again because of the set state and the build context here. All right, so now you go to the floating action button. This widget lets you create a floating action button. So when you directly write something like this, you get a floating action button. And then inside the floating action button, you again have a few predefined things or predefined widgets. So an on press lets the application know that the user has clicked on the button. So whenever I do this, on press is getting to know, oh, the user has clicked on the button, and then it says, okay, I'm going to call the function increment counter, and from here it directly goes to this function here, and then the counter gets incremented. So that's what happens here, and that's basically it. So this icons.add and stuff basically allows you to design the floating action button. All right, so that's basically about the counter app here. So you just try to play around with it while we have the next coding session, which is basically designing the weather app. So I just wanted to give you a quick walkthrough of what we've discussed yesterday, so that you guys remember everything. Now, before doing that, we'd like you guys to again just keep a check on this, keep an eye on this. If you guys want, I'll send you guys the link so you can directly open it inside in your computer. So it will directly take you to Figma, and you can directly see this. You can't edit it because I've restricted you guys from editing it, so no shady business there. So that's basically it here. Now we're going to try to make this, and 1 minute guys. So that's basically it here. So next we are going to talk about the weather app and how we're gonna take on the hands-on coding session from here. So so that's basically it. So I hope you guys have clicked on the link. Please do react to the link so that we can move forward. So over to Vinayak right now. He'll share the screen and just give you a walkthrough on how to create the weather app. Please do code along with him so that you guys understand, and I'll be answering your questions in the chat. All right.
Okay, so there are a lot of process involved here. Like we may have to first create the app and then modify it a little. There are certain permissions. Like if you think of a weather app, you can imagine that the app needs to know the user's location, the exact latitude and longitude, where exactly the user is. It's a permission that you need. So you observe that when you open some apps, they ask you permission, like this app is requesting permission. So our app will require that so that we can get to know where the person is. So for requesting permissions and all, there's a package for that. I'll let you know. First thing that we should be doing is you guys can use the existing project, whatever you've created, but I'm just gonna create a new project. I'm gonna call it weather app. Make sure you can use the same project or you can create a new one just like I did right now. And you can just open it in VS Code. And as you can see, we have the counter app just like before. Before you run the app in your phone, like before you click on this run and run without debugging, before you do that, I need you guys to install a few packages. All right, these packages are important so that we can get a certain data. And for getting this particular all these data, we're going to use a weather API. It's called as Open Weather. And alright, so there's this file, as you can see in my project. It's called pubspec.yaml. Alright, don't get afraid looking at all this. It's pretty easy actually. If you need to use any plugin, like if you need to use a weather plugin or a permission plugin or something like that, you add those plugins into pubspec.yml. All right. So how do you add this weather plugin to pubspec.yml? I'll send you a link of the weather plugin. It's on pub.dev. I've sent it in the chat. You just have to go to that link and then go to installing. And in that, it will show you that how exactly we're supposed to install this plugin into our project. So as you can see, this particular line, weather 2.0.0, just select this, copy it, and in your dependencies, like in your weather inside pubspec.yml, below dependencies, above the word Flutter, you'll have to insert it. Make sure that this is in the same line. All right, it should be exactly above Flutter. Make sure that the weather plugin is exactly in the same line. In the same way, we have a few more plugins that you'll have to install, which is geolocator, and I guess there was one more. Yes, permission handler. I'll send you the installing this particular line of all 3 plugins in the chat box. I'm copying this and putting it in the chat box. Just copy the exact same thing I've put in the chat box and put it under dependencies. Now, if this you would notice like why exactly are some plugins of different numbers, like some have 2, 7, 6 and all. These are actually plugins made by developers. They make the plugin in Java, or it could be in Dart, and they'll publish it in the form of a plugin so that people can use it. Like most of these plugins are free, you can use them. And every time they update the plugin, like for example, permission handler, if the developer needs to improve it, they'll update the next version of it. So it gets updated. Maybe the next version is going to be 2.0.1. So not necessarily we need to have the latest update in our project. We can use any of them. Like if I leave this blank also, it would work. It would automatically fetch the latest version. But I prefer that you specify a number, whatever I've provided in the chat box, so that things work out. All right. Now once you've done this, click on Control S. When you click on Control S, you can notice that Flutter pub get running. So it's basically downloading these packages into our project. If you, okay, one more thing, this particular button in the bottom, if you click on this, you will see 4 different tabs. Terminal, which is basically your command prompt itself. Debug console, which will show you like when your app is running, like whatever is the running inside your app, it will show in the debug console. Problems, which means if I make some error over here, it will show the problems immediately. Like see, there's this sort of an error, it will show directly. So whenever there's an error in your code, just click on this, go to problems, and make sure that there are no problems. Now if I take this off, it will show that you don't have any problems. And the output, yeah, that's just for checking if your packages have installed properly. Okay. All right, we've got 8 replies. Okay, I'm going to go further into explaining this. If anybody still didn't reach there, you can unmute yourself and tell me. I can help you out. Now this counter app is something very basic, already explained. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this entire class. Like until my homepage, I'm going to delete it. So right now my main.dart will just have one class. Also, just a quick tip to understand like where the bracket opens and closes. When you just highlight on it, you can see that there'll be a small box which will show exactly where this particular class has been closed. Like for example, if it's a really huge code, it will be hard for you to locate it. There are many shortcuts also, like if you do Control Shift and slash, it will go back to wherever your class has closed. All right. Now, once you've removed that class, you will observe there is an error. That's because my homepage is no longer valid right now. Correct. Another important thing which is required is the permission. Like, you know, whenever you upload your app to the Google Play Store, they need to know what all permissions your app has. They need to know where exactly, like if you have any location permissions or storage permissions, and you need to specify why you need those permissions in your privacy policy too. So for that, we need to give certain permissions to the app. So what we're going to do is there's going to be this path called Android app src main and Android manifest.xml. All right. Android app src main Android manifest.xml. Now, don't bother about whatever is here. Just for now, just copy this permission and put it right here. I'll send you guys whatever I'm putting here. Just let me type it out first. The permission that we need will be this location. One more permission that we need is access location. Right? Now these two things are going to be right below the first tag, as in it starts here, it ends here, the manifest tag. Right below that is where you need to provide your permissions. Two permissions we require for this app: course location and find location. I'm going to copy paste this in the chat. You can just copy the same thing and put it in Android manifest.xml. App src, and like the folder's name is Android. I'll show it to you again. Android app. Inside the app folder, there'll be a folder called src. Inside src, there'll be a folder called main. Inside that, you'll find Android manifest.xml. Inside this file, you'll have to paste these two lines, which I've put it in the chat. If you guys are done with that, just react to that message which I just copied so that I can move further. If anybody is facing any difficulty locating Android manifest.xml, you can tell me. Else, if you've got it, please react to the message, else we won't be proceeding further. Okay, we've got 5 reacts. So I'm sure most of you would have their phones connected to your PC via USB cable, and make sure USB debugging is turned on in your phone. Once you connect that, you will get your phone's name over here as I showed yesterday. Now, if you need to run this app in your phone, just go to run and run without debugging. Alright, just give it a minute and it'll run in your phone. I'm just gonna run it in my phone. It's gonna take a minute or two. Abhijit, which changed code are you talking about? In the main.dart or the Android manifest.xml? Alright, it's right here in pubspec.yml. These 3 packages. The second one, you mean Android manifest.xml? Right here. I've copied the code in the chat box. You can just copy the same thing. Uses permission Android. These 2 lines, line 3 and 4, that's the only thing that I've changed. You want to see the output window of like are you getting some sort of an error in the output window when you're running? Okay, what does the error say? You can send a screenshot or unmute yourself. Anything is fine. Okay. Um, yeah, it's something wrong with the indentation. As I told before, like the Flutter, it should be in the same line. The weather, geolocation, permission handler, Flutter, everything should be on the same line. Alright, and you're still getting that error? Mm. Okay, did you guys name the app weather just WEATHER?
Yeah, it was just weather for me.
Okay, maybe you should change the name of the app because the package's name is also weather and your app's name is also weather. That's where the problem comes. Like name it something like weather underscore app or something.
Okay, I'll try that.
Yeah. If you want to change the name of the app, you just have to change it here, right? The name in pubspec.yml. Or it's always better to just delete that project and just create a new Flutter create weather underscore app. Two people had that error. When you guys are done, do let me know because we're all going to go together. I think they'll take some time, right? Because they're just doing Flutter Create right now. They're renaming the app, so okay. All right, so we can go forward. Uh, so I just ran my app in my phone, and this is how it's gonna appear. Looks a little weird, I know, but we'll make it all right. Mm, next, what we're gonna do is what do we do? Yeah, for the two people who are recreating your app, just make sure your pubspec.yml and Android manifest has those two things. those changes and then run your app in the phone. In your main.dart, in your example app, just delete all the classes except my app, and in place of home, I'll tell you what you can do. Inside the lib folder, just create a new file and call it weatherpage.dart. Make sure you do .dart weatherpage.dart. Name it anything you want, but preferably put the same names as I am so that you don't face any difficulties. We just created a new page over there. So what we're going to do is we are going to link this class with another class in the weather page. All right. In the weather page also, you just need to type import and type material inside that. You'll automatically see a suggestion, flutter/material.dart. Just click on it and you will get the import over there. Now I want to create a stateful widget inside this class, inside this page. Let me just check if, yeah. In order to create a stateful widget, just type STF. When you type it, you will see that Flutter stateful widget over here. What this essentially does is it creates the entire widget for you without you having to type out the whole thing. When you click on it, you should be specifying the name of the class. So your class name should always start with a capital letter. All right. So I'm going to call it weather. If you can name it the same way, it would be great. So this is inside a new page, remember, it's not inside main.dart, it's inside a new page called weatherpage.dart, and I imported material.dart and created a stateful widget called weatherpage. Alright. If you're done with it, please react to the message so you can proceed further. I'm just going to explain it again. In order to create a stateful widget, just type STF and then click on this. And then you can just type the name of your class. If you guys got it, just react to the message in the chat. Yesterday, I guess somebody was saying they were finding it difficult to keep up. I don't remember who it was. But if you feel I'm going too fast, you can unmute yourself. It's not a problem. Or you can type it in the chat that you're not getting it. I need more reacts in that message, then only I can go further. Guys, if you're done creating this weather page, just name the class weather page. Is anybody still trying to run the app in your phone? Was everybody able to run the app in their phone? Then okay, we have 4 years. That's great. So now what I'm going to do is I need to link this first class called my app to the second class which is inside weather page. Okay. Now there are two classes, one class in main.dart, another class in weather page. So what I'm going to do is if I need to access this particular class in my main.dart, I need to first import this particular file inside this file. So I'm just going to type import and then the name of the Dart file, weather page dot. All right. Now if I type this import weather page dot, I can basically import all the classes available in this file inside main.dart. All right. So now what I'm going to do is whatever I would have explained this yesterday. Whatever comes inside hi, like whatever comes inside home, I mean, is what appears in your app first. So I'm just going to link this to weather page. Instead of the text hi, I'm just going to type the weather page over here. So I'm in the okay. Make sure you save the page, weather page. Make sure you click Ctrl S and save the weather page and then link the weather page over here. Alright, so inside the weather page I already have a container, and if I just type a text saying hello, welcome, comes up in the screen. Alright, so what I did is I linked this class with another page called weather page, another class I mean, which is inside another Dart file. Alright, if anybody is not getting, please feel free to unmute and ask or type it in the chat. I'm just going to keep going on. Alright, now instead of a container, what we're going to do is I'm going to use a scaffold. So I'm going to return scaffold. Alright, let's just look at the UI once again. I'm just going to open Figma and look at the UI. Now let's think. In order to implement this, I need to divide the page into two. One is a red color container and the other is a white color container. So both these are two widgets. This is a red widget and this white widget. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put them inside a column, because this is column 1, this is column 2. So I'm just going to create a column and put both of them inside. Now in order to put a column there, I created a scaffold. Now if you observe, if when I just put a text hello welcome, it comes in a very weird way. But when you use something like scaffold, scaffold is a material widget. And if I put a text hello welcome inside this, it appears in a different way. It appears in a material way. Okay, you can't see it, it's just under my this bar. Okay, now inside the body, as I said, we need to make one second. Inside the body, we need to make a column with two containers. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Inside the body, I'm going to create something called as column. Put brackets And see, Flutter always provides help for you. Like whenever you type column, whatever you want to put inside that, they already give suggestions over here. So there's something called as children, which will provide what all sub widgets will this column have. So just click on children, and inside that, now you can observe that inside scaffold we created a body called column. Inside column we have something in square brackets. Put the cursor inside and hit enter. And then I'm going to create two containers. Container, comma, container. Alright. You won't notice the changes right now because I just put two empty containers uh, inside the column. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to specify, 1 second. Right now, if you can picture, there's one container here and there's another container over here. Okay. And inside the first container, I'm going to provide a height of it. Let's provide a color for it. If you just type C inside this container's bracket, you will observe that color. In that, you can specify the color of the particular container. I'm going to give it red in color. Colors, like in order to provide material colors, you have to use capital C ORS dot and whatever color you want. Since I want red, I'm just going to provide red and hit. And yeah, wait, after the color, I'm going to provide a height also. I'm going to keep the height as say 200. Right now, when I do that, it creates a container. Earlier the container was not visible because both containers were white in color. Now I gave a height to the container as well as a color. Now if I remove the height, you won't observe anything because I haven't provided the height for that particular container. But if I provide a height, it will show exactly how tall you want it. Let's just look at our Figma design. Yeah, it looks somewhat similar. 200, the height would be enough. I'll probably make it 250. Alright, that should be enough. Now, inside this container, okay, did everybody reach till here? Or is someone facing any difficulty? Please let me know. I'm going to wait for a minute. If everybody reached till here, do let me know. Or if somebody is facing some issue, then they haven't reached till here. Can someone tell me if they reached till here so that I can go further? Anybody? Just type a yes in the chat. Alright, that's good. If somebody has not reached till here, can they say a no? That will also help. So that I can help them out. Sure, I can open main.dat. Alright, it's fairly simple. You just give an import for the other file and you give a class, the class whichever is inside that particular DAG file. Alright, so I guess let's continue. Now what's next inside the Figma design? Right. We need to provide 3 texts over here and a couple of lists over here. So what we're essentially doing is I'm just going to type plain texts first. Okay, I'm just going to type currently in Boston. I'm going to just type it inside a text widget and keep. Once we're done with the design, I'll show you how you can get the exact location and the temperature of your particular city. Alright, that backend part we'll do it after I implement the design. Alright, so now we have 2 containers here, right? Now what we need is inside this container we're again having three text widgets, and these 3 text widgets are in a column. So inside the container I give a child, inside the child I put a column, again column, and then children inside that particular container. Alright, make sure that the child is inside this container, and inside the child you're providing a column. Inside the column I'm giving 3 text widgets. You can type whatever you want inside these 3 text widgets, not whatever you want. For now, whatever you want. Currently in how do you put degree in this? Okay, I'm just going to take it from here. Degree is a special character. If you guys want degree, I'll put that in the chat also. Since it's a special character, you can just copy it. Alright. And clouds, the third one. Oh yes, you need to provide the width for this container, right? Um, hmm. Alright, that's what went wrong. So inside this container, just make sure you put this alignment thing, alignment dot center, so that this red thing occupies the whole width. There are other ways also to get the width of the current device and then give that as a width, but this seems more easier, so do that. Now we have three texts over here. What we need to do is we need to bring them to the center of the screen. So this column occupies the whole container and the three texts are aligned on the top. So you guys may remember that Pranav had explained about main axis alignment. It basically tells you where to align, like in vertically where exactly should you align. So just type main axis alignment dot center. You type on that, it gets aligned to the center. That's it. And I'm just going to check the chat. Okay. Now, if you want to modify this text widget, like you want to give it a different color, it's white in the Figma design, right? And it has a different font and size and all that. What you need to do is inside the text widgets bracket, after you type a text, just put a comma and type style. And inside style, type text style. Like this, you can provide the color, the font size, and there we go. That's how you modify a text. Just have to copy the same thing for the other text widgets. There and there. There we go. Colors of all of them have been changed. I want the temperature to be in a little more bigger font. So I'm going to make the temperature around in 40 degree, 40 as or 50. Yeah, maybe that looks better. So I guess the design for the top part has been done. There's nothing much more. Now we need to create the bottom part. Alright. For the bottom part, for you guys it may be something like container over here. So the difference between container and expanded. Okay. Now if I wrap this container inside, if I just put a text or I just give a color, I just put text inside. You'll observe that the container takes up the height of whatever the child is. The text widget has only this much height, so the height of the container also stays that much. But what we want is we want this entire space, bottom space, to be used. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap the container inside a widget called expanded. Inside a child, and when I do that, the entire space gets occupied, right? Now let's just remove the text widget. What we need is we need a column again here. There are many. This occupies one column. This is second. This is third. This is fourth. So again, I'm going to put a column widget inside expanded. And inside children, I'm going to teach you about a new widget. It's called list tile. Now, if you observe, like if you opened the Gmail app and all, you observe that everything is a list, right? Like it's a box. I'll just show you an example of a list tile. In list tile, you can provide something like leading. I'm just going to type this out really fast so I can show you an example. Sure you put a comma after all of these. Like after each thing, you have to put a comma. It's very important. So what a list style does is, okay, hold on. Yeah, it's good. So it basically creates like a tile. Okay, this tile is divided into three parts. One is leading, one is title, and another is trailing. Whatever you put inside leading, it will come inside leading. Whatever you put inside title, it will come here. Whatever you put inside trailing, it will come back there. It's that easy. I can even provide a color for this tile color. I can say colors dot green. You can just provide a color for it. For now, I'm not going to provide any color because the app doesn't require one. About this widget called icon. Icon is another widget. Inside that, you can give any icon that you want. Now, like, what if I need an icon of an airplane or something? How do I know what's the exact word that I need to provide? So if you just go to the material icons website, official material.io website, you can just put the link in the chat. You can just search for the icon like airplane or something like that. See, if you use that, you can use the same word over here. I use flight, I can get the same icon. Like I can search for whatever icon I want over here and look for the exact word they've used. Use the same word over here and do Control S. You will get that icon over here. So for now, as per our design, it's a thermometer, right? So let's just search for a thermometer. Okay, is it a thermostat? Okay, I don't know. Just type thermostat. The thermostat came there. The text is temperature. Alright. Now we created one list style. How many list styles do we need? 1, 2, 3, 4. We need 4 list styles. So just copy the same list style. Put a comma after each list style. And 4. Now I have 4 list styles. The second one is weather. I'm going to put a cloud icon for that. The third one is humidity. I don't think there's an icon for humidity. Another advantage of Flutter, you can use something called Cupertino icons. This is basically something that Apple uses or which iOS apps uses, but you can use the same icon for your Android app too. They also have like pretty good collection of icons. I'm going to ignore humidity because I think using this API we can't get the humidity. So I'll put something like fields like. Right. And we have wind speed. So it's all updated in the app. Ignore the numbers, I just put it in for the time being. That's how we can get the exact same design, whatever we got in Figma. It was that easy. Or was it easy for me? I'm not sure. uh, can you guys let me know if you reached till here? This is basically the design. The rest is the backend, which we will get to in a while. Okay. Until we get some thumbs ups in that message, let's just wait. Anybody facing any issues, do let me know. Unmute yourself. Yep. Which part do you want to see? The bottom part of the container or the top part? Look at new icons. Which is the bottom part? You need not use Cupertino icons. You can just use the normal icons too. It's just a choice that I have. Why do we use the step? Right. So the comma in the trailing part of the list type. We don't. In after the trailing part, we are closing the list type, and after this list type, we need a comma, right? Only after, like, okay, so I'll say something. You can unmute yourself and talk. You know, it will be easier to hear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. No, I was just asking because in the list, after the leading and title, we use commas, no? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So after tailing, we don't use a comma, and after we complete the list, we use a comma. So is that the way the syntax is, or?
Yeah, that's the way the syntax is, because see, after leading, I'm providing something else, right? So I need to provide a comma for that.
So if it is an say another function other than tailing, say something else other than tailing, we still don't use a comma, right?
Yeah, we don't use. If it's the
Okay.
last thing, you don't have to use it, right? So see,
So
suppose I have just leading over here, just leading, okay? I don't need a comma there because there's nothing else, nothing, no more title or tailing or nothing else. So I don't need a comma there. But since I'm providing something like title and after that trailing, that's why I need a comma here.
yeah, got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, just to add another thing, commas basically allow you to organize your code, right? So when you add a comma, it creates a widget tree, and you can see the comment, right? Something called as a list style, something called as a column, something called as a container inside as a comment, right? As a comment. So because of the comma, it creates that format for you. All right. So it's called as a trailing comma. Right? So it creates a organized coding structure for you. So whenever you're creating multiple widgets inside the as this child of a same as this child of another widget, it's better that you add commas. All right, that's it.
Got it. Thank you.
If anybody has not finished till here, can you please type in the chat? I guess we'll wait for a minute more. Still something got it. Can you show the error, like a screenshot? Just tell me what the error is. I prefer not to use Cupertino icons. It's just a personal choice. You can just use icons dot whatever you want. But still, just send me the error message so that I can sort it out. Hmm. Yeah, I've gotten that error before. It's a little weird with Cupertino icons. That's why try using the normal icons instead of Cupertino icons. Like something else, some other cloud or something like that. Maybe. Because, okay, sometimes actually, even when I type Cupertino, how it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. Did it work for you, or are you changing it to icon? Change it to icon. Alright, sure. When you're done, just let me know. As soon as you're done, we'll start the others are waiting. So when you guys are free, just go through pub.dev, like the vast collection of packages that they have. They have like so many packages. You have an idea, the first thing you do is go search for a package and you can just implement it. Like for example, some apps just you may need to push a notification. Like, let me say Instagram or something, they push notification once in a while, right? Like this person started screaming. So for those kind of things, you can just search for something like notifications, and you'll find some package which will help you. Like on the press of a button, you'll be able to push a notification. This one is a little hard, but it'll take some time. Eventually, you'll be able to do it. Flutter, the entire thing is all about just implementing those packages and all that. But if you have like an idea in which there are no packages, then you may have to create your own package. You may have to make it in Java, for example. That's the advantage of Flutter, you know. Like, what if on the click of a button, I want to run a Java code? Maybe there's something specific to Java which is not there in that. Like, for example, if you want to host a hotspot in your phone when you click a button, all that is available in Dart, but it's not advanced enough. There's a function in Java, you can use that, and there's something called as platform channels. Platform. There's an entire documentation about platform channels in Flutter. Look up. You can see an entire documentation on writing platform specific code. What happens is you create a file in Java, and on the click of a button, it will call that class, and you can run it. So all those kinds of things you can do. Like even when it comes to iOS, you will be able to launch it. The disadvantage of the entire iOS Apple ecosystem is that if you need to make an iOS app, you really need a Mac. So even when we had to make the iOS app for Xdrop, I had to borrow a Mac. And I had to work in that for a while, and then we made the iOS app. Because only if you need to make an iOS or a macOS app, you need to have a Mac. That's apparently how Apple is. Okay, so um, I'm gonna continue with showing you guys how we can get the exact current location. So remember we used a package called weather. This is an API, and you basically need an API key for this to work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to import this package called as weather inside our weather page. I'll put that inside the import inside the chat box also. You just have to import it inside your weather page. Make sure that all your imports are on the top and the rest of the things are on the bottom. And just import the package weather.dart. And then what we're gonna do is, alright, so first let me just explain about this package right now. Okay, now this, they created a new data type called weather factory. Just like string int, they created a data type called weather factory. And you can name it whatever you want. And when you call wf dot, okay, rather I'll just implement it and show it to you guys. Alright. For this package to work, you need an API key. Alright. You need to make a account and all of that. Instead of making your own API keys, I'll just provide mine because this is just a trial. So this particular function, which is weather factory wf equals your API key, copy it and let's put it inside our class weather page state. Make sure it's inside this bracket and just put it here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste my API key. Just to make things clear, if you want to create your own API key, you need to go to their website and get API key, sign up and all that. You guys can do that if you want, but I just think it will be easier if I give you my API key and put it inside this double quotes. Now I'm going to put this also inside the chat. So right now, weather factory will hold the, wait, let's go back to weather. Okay, now right now WF will hold our API. Alright. There's another thing called init state. Alright. Whenever you open your app, you may want some function to run directly. Like you don't want the user to click a button and then, like, what if I just keep a button open weather and then the weather shows? That would be kind of boring. I just want my app to open and show me the weather. So a function is something like, okay, if I just have a function like get weather, and this function won't run by itself. I need to call it somewhere, then only it runs. So I should either put a button or something like that. But I don't want to wait for someone to click a button and then the weather to appear. So what I did is, there's something called as init state. So above everything, inside the class, type override. Override basically forces the class to run that particular function and call it void init state. Make sure you have the exact words or else it doesn't work. Init state, and put something called as super.init state. Inside init state, I'll enter my function called getWeather. What this essentially does is, as soon as the app launches, the function getWeather runs. Now if I press Ctrl S, it won't run because the app is already run. It runs only once, by the way. Whenever the app starts, it runs. When I hit Ctrl S, nothing's going to happen. The function's not going to run because the app is already open. Now when you restart the app, that's when this function will run. So if I just put a print statement inside this called as getWeather, okay, it's not going to run. You won't see anything here. But when I hit restart, observe that that particular thing gets run. Whenever your app opens, this particular getWeather function runs. That's why we're using this so-called init state. That's what we use this for. So what happens, what we're going to do is, as soon as the app launches, we're going to ask the API to give us the, what do you say, the weather details, everything, the temperature, weather, what it feels like, wind speed, everything we need to get inside this function. Alright. But until then, like, it may take some time to fetch the weather. Until then, you may need to show some loading action. I'll show about that in a while. Now they created a data type called weather W, which means if you provide the latitude and longitude of your current location, the weather gets stored in this particular data type called weather, right? So first step is to get the latitude and longitude of your current location. For that, we've already installed another plugin. Remember in pubspec.py we have something called geolocator. We need to import geolocator also inside it. Geolocator / geolocator.dot. I'm copying that one to the chat box. And if you look at the documentation of geolocator, first we need to ask the permission. Like, remember when I talked about it in the first, when your app opens, we need the user to accept the location. We need to ask for a location request. All right. So for that, we have this particular function. All right. Okay. Now I'm just going to explain a small thing. If I paste this, I'll get an error called await expression can only be used in an async function. I don't know, I don't remember if we explained about asynchronous functions, but these are functions which, keep running again and again until the request is received. What this essentially does is, until we accept the location, it'll always print, it'll stay there itself. It won't move to the next line. So in order to use await functions, await statements, our function should have a tag called async. It's called as asynchronous programming. Alright, only when you type async, you'll get the error off. So right now what we're doing, first when the app opens, this function runs. When the function runs, we're asking the user to give us location permission. Now consider we've got the location. Okay, let's just print got location. After we get the location, we need to get the coordinates, which is the latitude and longitude. The package has a function for that too, called as position. Again, we're using an async and await function here so that we can await for the current locations, latitude and longitude. Again, when you're running this app in your phone, make sure that your location is turned on, alright, so that they can get the exact location wherever you are. And you can provide the accuracy of the location. Like in the documentation they've given about the accuracy too. Yeah, see, for high, best for navigation, it'll give an approximate, like if I give it as medium, the location may be 100 meters around my house. If I give it to high, it will point out to the exact point where I am in the globe. Basically, using this, we can get the latitude and longitude. So if I print the statement, position bring it as. Now, if you want to call like a data type inside a text, use the $sign, right? And you can just type position, which is basically this data type, position dot latitude, and for the longitude, longitude. So there we go. Our ignore the green things, okay? If you put 2 slashes, it's just basically so that the programmer can understand what exactly they wrote. Like sometimes when we type some code and revisit it after a long time, it's going to be hard to understand. So this is called as a comment. Ignore it. It's just for your reference. That's number 1, where we got the location permission. Number 2 is where we get the latitude and longitude of the current user. Now we have the latitude and longitude. Alright. Now we need the weather. This particular function we need. One issue. And no, I'm not using a typewriter. That's just my keyboard. Uh, now we have the weather of our current location stored inside this. Alright. But this weather W is exclusively it's accessible only to this particular function. Now if I need to enter the weather here, it needs to be accessible throughout the whole class. So for that, what I do is I just type set state. I would have explained about set state to you guys. I'll declare another what do you say, data type called my location over here, and I'll assign my location to W. So basically what happens is 3 we're getting W and 4 assigning location my location. So basically initially the value of my location will be null, but when the app runs this will take some time, 1, 2, 3, and when it reaches 4 the value of my location will have some contents. Alright, so now I have my location's contents inside this particular data type. Right, I'm just going to hit Control S. Nothing is going to happen yet since I've just typed 32 over here. I need the exact location, right? So before, like, this function basically would take like 2 to 3 seconds to appear. I'll just show you what the error could be. If I just type here, remember, I guess I haven't explained about this dollar thing much. Thing is, inside text, if you need to see, if I type int a equals 1, 2, 3, or I type a string, int b equals 1, 2, 3, right? It's a string. Now, if I need to display b inside this, if I just type b here, it won't work. So I need to put a dollar $b. This will display whatever the contents of B is. That's why we're using the dollar sign here. Like even when printing inside, the value of position dot latitude, I'm using that. Let me just check the chat. Okay. So the same way. Now we have the my location ready. I just need to display it. Remember, now when I display it, it's going to show an error. is because my location is right now null, right? It stores no value. I didn't run get weather. Get weather ran only with that print statement. It didn't run where my location has some value. So what am I going to do? I'm going to restart the app so that the get weather function runs again. When I restart, it will still show the error for a minute or two. Okay, ignore the error. That this particular number 1 function ran, that's why we got the allow part. Once I hit allow, it goes there and then it comes. So you observe that there's a small delay, right? Because this function takes some time to run, there's a small delay. So what am I going to do is, I'm going to create another thing called as bool. I'm sure you guys know what bool is. It holds the value either true or false. I'm going to set it to false. Alright. And when I get the location, then I'll set it to true. What's the advantage? Okay. To set loading equal to true. Right. What's the advantage of this? I don't want the UI anything to appear until I get the location. So what am I going to do? Inside body, I'm going to put an if condition. Alright. Remember, I called it loading here. So if I type loading, alright, which means the first condition would be if loading is still happening, then show this particular container. Else, show our UI. So inside this container, I'm just going to insert something called a circular progress indicator. Alright, this is basically an animated indicator. When the loading is true, it will show that loading thing. I mean, okay, I'm supposed to set it to false. I'm sorry. Alright, when the loading is true, it will show that loading animation. But now once it's set to false, it will show our UI. So what's happening is in our initially when you open the app, loading is false. Alright, it runs the first thing, loading is still false, loading is still false, loading is still false. Now when my location equal to W, which means now my location has some value, that time I set loading equal to false. So when loading is equal to false, it will run this calling. So by default, if I save it, it will just show the okay, loading equal to false. Okay. Loading is supposed to be true initially. So what happens is when I hit restart app, it will first show you the loading screen. Alright, and when I've finished loading it, like when I've finished getting the location, at that time it comes. Okay, I want the loading thing to come in the center. I'm going to put something called as alignment.center. Now let's check it out. There we go. And once we get the location, it comes up. Alright. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm not in Boston. My location dot temperature. Basically, right now what I'm doing is I'm just filling the text boxes with the right information. I need the temperature. What else was there in Figma? Weather, right? feels like also dot height feels like the wind speed yes, it all gets updated. I want this temperature. Okay, here's the chat box. There we go. And now when I reload my app, it will show the loading animation first until this function finishes running. After I've gotten the location, it gets updated. That's it. It shows my exact details wherever I am and everything about it. Now, for reference, it would be great if I could share this to you guys somehow. There's a poll, just take it. I'll probably upload this to GitHub so that you guys can view the code. Time is actually up, but if you guys have any doubt,
Yeah. One more thing, guys. I'll just put the Figma link here. Give me a minute. Just put the Figma link here. So we'll tell you what to do with it. Alright, so for tomorrow, okay, guys, just tell me if you guys can access it. So yeah, so for tomorrow, uh, you guys can create an app that you like. Just experiment and tweak the code if you want, and just try to create something. Before creating that, we'd love if you design the same application's UI in Figma. So we've shared the link. So after creating it, you can copy paste. You can copy paste the thing inside the link or inside the frame or inside the page that I've shared here. Just copy paste your frame inside the link, and then it'll be fine. And please do not tamper with another person's frame, because please don't do that. And just submit your own frames there. And then tomorrow, I think we'll have a 1 hour session, and I think we'll give you something exciting for a person who's made a very good design. So it totally depends on how much you work today. So do you want to add something? Do you have something else? No?
nothing really. I guess in the last part of it, I went a little too fast, but if you have any doubts, you can ask. Is there some part that you need to know? You guys can even text me on WhatsApp and I can reply if you have any doubts regarding this particular code.
Alright, guys, we understand that it's a little bit complicated. So most of the
That's
poll
it.
around
Yeah.
around 5 people said it's complicated. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Just do your research. Just try to understand. Just try to tweak the code and just try to understand. And I think you'll get an answer.
Somebody has asked why we're using the loading variable. So you see, earlier when I didn't give loading, we got a red color screen if you remember. Like okay, let's just imagine I don't give the loading screen. Okay? I remove the loading thing if I remove here. So nothing's gonna happen because everything is proper. My location has some value right now. But see, initially when you gave the function my location, it has like a null value inside it. There's nothing inside it. Only after this particular function runs, it'll have some value. So initially when the app opens itself, if I call this, it will display a null value. It will show an error. So if I restart the app right now, for a small fraction of time, it will show a red color screen for that small fraction, because at that time the value of this is null. So having that red color screen is not very impressive. So instead of that, until the function gets until my location, some value gets stored in my location, we are waiting. And after that value gets stored, we are changing loading value to true. So what happens here is, when value is true, it will show the circular, the animation, the loading animation. After a value gets stored in my location, here we are setting loading to false. So it will go to the else statement and it will load the UI. So right now that red screen won't come. When we reload the app, it will first, instead of the red screen, it will show a circular loading animation and then the screen. That's why we're using the loading thing. Any more questions? Like if everybody's got everything, then you can leave the chat. Else, if somebody has any question, let me to ask.